Today on Blue World, Jonathan meets the Manatees of Florida. But first, he visits the amazing island of Bonaire to dive with his whole family in the first ever bird family dive adventure. Meet Jonathan Bird, one of the world's top underwater nature cinematographers. Traveling the world on assignment for all the major networks, he is an Emmy Award-winning authority on the underwater world. In freshwater or salt, reefs, wrecks, or caves, Jonathan documents the world beneath the waves. Welcome to the Blue World.
Scuba diving has defined my life for 30 years. You could say that I'm in love with the ocean and the creatures that live there. I'm at home in the underwater world. My wife Christine and I have been diving together since we met at a dive club meeting. Ever since our kids were born, we've longed to share this underwater world with them. In 2013, our daughter Elise was old enough to get certified to dive. She took her class with instructor Kat Apps.
4, right? Because that was our penalty.
In 2017, our son Liam got certified to dive with instructor Scott Reed. Both of them learned to dive in the cold waters of New England, where we have thick wetsuits, big weight belts, and very limited visibility. So this winter, it's time for a family diving trip. When it comes to family diving, there's no place better than Buddy Dive Resort in Bonaire. Bonaire is a territory of the Netherlands, located in the southern Caribbean Sea, just off the coast of Venezuela. It's known as one of the best scuba diving destinations in the Caribbean. With warm, clear water, healthy reefs, and almost no current, Bonaire is the perfect place to take our kids on their first tropical diving trip. February school vacation is an awesome time to hit the airport to escape winter. Through the miracle of air travel, we soon land in tropical Bonaire.
We landed in Bonaire!
Yeah, we're in Bonaire!
We're here!
Then we head on over to Buddy Dive, an oceanfront luxury resort catering specifically to scuba divers. Our first morning, we get a quick introduction to the facilities from Dive Operations Manager Augusto Montbrun. Soon we'll be diving. But first things first, we review the marine park rules, the most important of which is to not touch anything or break any coral. Buoyancy, buoyancy, buoyancy.
And
you won't
buoyancy.
break anything if your buoyancy is under control. And with buoyancy in mind, our first dive will be a checkout dive. We're heading to the dive shop. All right, you guys, so what we're gonna do is for our first dive, we're just gonna go out in the shallows here over the sand, like 15 feet deep. And we're just gonna practice our buoyancy skills so that we have our buoyancy and our weight all worked out before we go out on the coral. Okay? All right, let's do it. The dive shop is right on the water, so we can do a dive right off the end of the dock. The kids haven't been diving in a couple months, so I'm curious to see if they can remember how to assemble all their gear correctly. I'm impressed. They do it like pros. Once we're sure that all their stuff is right, Christine and I get our gear set up. And now for the fun part.
Head to the end of the dock. Sounds good.
You guys giant striding?
Yep.
Okay. A giant stride off the end of the dock is a super fun way to start any dive. Elise goes first.
You okay?
Okay, Liam. After Liam, Christine hits the water and we're off. Sinking 20 feet down to the sandy bottom, I first demonstrate a buoyancy exercise for the kids to practice. They adjust the amount of air in their buoyancy compensators to get neutrally buoyant. When you're really good at it, you can hover without using your hands or feet. With our buoyancy exercises complete, we decide to spend the rest of the dive having a look around in the shallows at the edge of the reef. There's a flounder in the sand, a fish wonderfully adapted to hide in plain sight. A colony of garden eels poke out of their holes, plucking plankton from the water as it passes. And near an isolated brain coral, a barracuda is just hanging out with its toothy mouth wide open. This is a very special brain coral, and as I will discover in the days to come, this barracuda comes to this brain coral every morning. Elise is fascinated watching the action, and once the big fish gets used to us, it opens its mouth again. Tiny cleaner fish are swimming into the barracuda's mouth and gills, picking off parasites in dead skin. They give the barracuda a good grooming. The cleaner fish live around this brain coral, providing a cleaning station for any fish that might need their services. Soon the kids are getting chilly, so we turn and swim back to the dive shop.
That was awesome! Woohoo!
In the afternoon, we join a boat dive to explore a reef on Bonaire. It's only a 10-minute ride from the dock to reach Bonaire, a small uninhabited island which is a protected national park. The reefs are pristine. We suit up for a dive on a beautiful reef right below the boat. Boat diving is so convenient. All right, you guys, are you ready?
Ready?
All right, well, let's have fun, and remember, watch the buoyancy.
Okay.
All right. All right, you guys, let's do it!
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required. Download Veely now.
Finally, the bird family is scuba diving on a gorgeous Caribbean reef together. We pass the mooring block. All the dive sites use permanent moorings, so there are no anchors thrown on the reef. That means the reef is in beautiful shape with lots of healthy coral. There are ginormous tube sponges. A French angelfish is one of the few fish that can digest the tough tissue of sponges. A big school of blue tangs is moving across the reef, feeding on algae. They're critical to the health of the coral because without them, the algae would take over and smother the coral. A parrotfish is also snacking on the algae. We head down the reef behind the dive master, and soon he's found us a special treat. A yellow blob sitting on an orange sponge. That blob is a frogfish. It stays perfectly still, acting like a sponge itself, flicking a lure to attract smaller fish to eat. Soon it's time to head back to the boat. At 15 feet, we do a safety stop for 3 minutes. The purpose of this is to reduce the pressure on our bodies slowly, so nobody develops decompression sickness. Then it's up the ladder to the boat.
That was awesome!
What he said! Bonaire is an arid place with the terrain dominated by cactuses. The eastern side of the island has strong trade winds. The western side of the island, away from the wind, has calm conditions, perfect for diving. Popular places for shore diving are marked with a yellow rock, indicating the name of the dive site. Shore diving is really popular on Bonaire, so we decide to give it a try. Dive master Tina Wall from Buddy Dive takes us down south to a dive site called Invisibles.
And as we get closer, once it's deep enough and we know where the buoy is, we'll descend, because that's our best marker for our entry and exit point.
All right, guys, stop.
We have to be very careful getting in. The rocks are uneven and slippery. We swim out until the water is deep enough to submerge. Then we head across the sand to reach the reef. Tina leads the way, and with that shirt, she's very hard to lose. We find a venomous scorpion fish sitting very still. My camera lights make it look really colorful, but without lights, it blends in and looks like a rock. Hiding near a soft coral, there's a trumpet fish. They hang vertically, head down in the water to look like part of the coral. It's an effective way to ambush prey. But when it realizes that it's been spotted, the fish abandons its position and makes a break for it. Only to try to fool me again. We turn our dive and start meandering back towards the beach. Along the way, we come across a couple intense characters. On one side of a rock, a male sailfin blenny, furiously putting on a display designed to impress a female. Less than a meter away, another male, also intent on getting that female's attention. As they both put on their best moves, the female comes to check them both out. And frankly, she's not very impressed. They both get the cold fin. But that only causes them to intensify their competition, with each male trying to out-display the other one. I leave the sailfin blennies to their antics and follow a goatfish for a while. Goatfish have two whiskers called barbels under the chin, which provides a goat-like appearance. These barbels are chemically sensitive. They can basically smell things like worms in the sand. When it smells something yummy, the goatfish dives right in for a snack. We've made our way back to the beach and surfaced to swim to shore. After the dive, we pile back into the van and head back to Buddy Dive. We have one more adventure for the day.
Yeah, definitely.
The sun is setting over Klein Bonaire, but we're not getting ready for bed. Once the sun has gone down, it's time for a night dive. And this will be Liam's first night dive ever. If he's nervous, he's hiding it well. We jump off the dock into the dark water. With our dive lights blazing, we set off to the reef. At night, the colors are brighter without the strong blue cast from the water. Purple tube sponges look like something out of a science fiction movie. And on the sponges, an alien-looking arrow crab. Nearby, a parrotfish is sleeping inside a bubble. It blows the bubble to disguise its scent from nocturnal predators like moray eels. Suddenly, a large shadow, and then a pair of fish more than a meter long. These are tarpon. Normally, they would not come this close to divers, but the tarpon here at Buddy Dive have learned to hunt using the divers' flashlights, so they follow us around for the whole dive. The fish are so shiny that they look like they're made of aluminum foil. A night dive in the company of these huge fish is a real treat. Our trip to Bonaire has been epic. Our whole family dove together for the week, and my kids got to experience a little bit of why I love the ocean so much. We dove from the shore and from a boat, during the day and at night, in the diver's paradise of Bonaire. And the question isn't, did we have fun? The question is, when are we coming back? The town of Crystal River in Florida is famous around the world for its warm water springs. During the winter, these springs fill with the world's largest aggregation of manatees. Todd, Zach, and I have arrived not just for manatees, but to meet up with a very special kid. Elizabeth is a 7-year-old swimming prodigy. From an early age, she took to the water like a fish.
You can do it.
In fact, when she was only 16 months old, she could swim across a swimming pool by herself, becoming a YouTube sensation. But she's never been swimming in the wild with a large aquatic animal. So today we're going to change all that and take her to meet one of Florida's most famous residents. Elizabeth and her dad Adam are meeting me in the town of Crystal River for an underwater adventure. Elizabeth! Hey, great to meet you!
Hi.
Are you ready to go swim with some manatees?
Yeah.
Let's go! Our guides to the manatees are Captain Stacy Dunn and her husband Mike. We load the pontoon boat, and then Captain Stacy explains the rules for manatee interactions.
All right, Elizabeth, have you done your homework on manatees?
No.
With Mike at the helm, we leave the dock and slowly make our way through a series of canals to Kings Bay. We pass lots of no-wake signs reminding us that the area is filled with vulnerable manatees. Manatees swimming just under the surface can be injured or killed by propellers, so we go very slowly, keeping an eye peeled for manatees near the boat. We pass quite a few along the way. Soon we arrive at the mouth of Three Sisters Spring, one of the best places to see manatees. This spot is no secret. There are 5 boats here and 20 people already in the water. But the swimmers can't go past the ropes, giving the manatees some personal space. From the air, we can see that there are at least 200 animals here, most of which are resting behind the rope close to the warm water coming from the mouth of the spring. Cameraman Todd and I hop into the water.
Going very smooth and quiet.
Due to a recent cold snap in Florida, the water's only in the mid-60s. Next, it's Elizabeth's turn, and I'm a little worried that the water's going to be too cold for her. She has a wetsuit, so that will help. As it turns out, she handles the cold just fine, but the murky water over where we anchored the boat freaks her out a little, so her dad hops in the water to help out. We move to a shallow spot where Elizabeth can stand up and get her bearings. She's using a pool noodle to float, which is actually something that the tour operators are asking people to do. And this is the reason. The water is shallow, and manatees go under people all the time, so good flotation keeps people from accidentally kicking them. Elizabeth grabs her noodle, and off we go to the clear water near the spring. We hang out together in the clear water until a manatee comes over to check us out. manatees are huge but gentle animals. As long as we don't bother them, they don't mind us being in the water at all. West Indian manatees are largely solitary animals that live in shallow coastal areas around Florida and the Caribbean. They feed on seagrasses, so in the past they were often called sea cows. Florida is at the northern end of their range, so in winter when the ocean gets cold, they go looking for warmth. Fortunately, the water spilling out of Florida's springs is a constant 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Manatees swim up rivers from the ocean to reach the springs. At the springs, they mostly just rest and wait for the weather to get warmer. But there's almost nothing to eat. So a tree leaf that lands on the water is a welcome snack. Some of the manatees are quite skinny. They are not getting enough to eat here. During the day, some of the manatees will swim out into the river to find food, but many of them just can't handle the cold and stay hunkered down at the springs. After a manatee has been lounging in shallow fresh water for a while, it may develop a coat of algae on its back. The fish love this delicious salad bar, and the manatees don't seem to mind getting rid of the algae. Because manatees are mammals, they have lungs and breathe air. So every few minutes, a manatee will rise to breathe once or twice before settling down and going back to sleep, holding its breath. Their nostrils feature perfectly watertight valves, so they don't have to worry about water in the nose. But it's not easy sharing these shallow waters with boats. Many manatees have terrible injuries from close encounters with propellers, and these are the ones that survived. Around 75 manatees are killed by boats every year in Florida. It's not all bad news, though. Manatees are doing much better than they were 20 years ago. With strong protection in place, their numbers have tripled since 1994. Elizabeth and I are having a great time hanging out with the manatees. But now we're both freezing, and it's time to warm up. So we say goodbye to our aquatic friends. By getting the chance to see manatees up close, I hope Elizabeth will become as enchanted with marine life as I am and become another advocate for the protection and appreciation of marine life all around the blue world.
Today on Blue World, Jonathan searches a Florida cave for a rare blind crayfish. Then he takes his whole family to Australia on a search for the world's most magnificent seahorse. But first, the science of hammerhead sharks. Meet Jonathan Bird, one of the world's top underwater nature cinematographers. Traveling the world on assignment for all the major networks, he is an Emmy Award-winning authority on the underwater world. In freshwater or salt, reefs, wrecks, or caves, Jonathan documents the world beneath the waves. Welcome to the Blue World.
The underwater world is full of mysteries to be solved. One such mystery involves the great hammerhead shark. Divers rarely see great hammerheads. They're known for being shy loners, unwilling to approach people. But a few years ago, divers began visiting a place near Bimini Island in the Bahamas, where great hammerheads have been caught by fishermen for years. They found a special place with lots of sharks. Over time, the sharks got used to divers and started coming in close for a snack, giving people an intimate look at the great hammerhead shark. I've been to Bimini several times, and I'm always amazed by how huge great hammerheads are. Not only does the head reach a meter or more wide, but the tall dorsal fin is a striking feature of this unique and majestic shark. And in spite of the aggressive appearance, great hammerheads almost never attack people. They much prefer to eat stingrays in the sand. But diving with great hammerheads has allowed divers to notice something unusual. The shark often swims tilted to the side at an angle. I also noticed this behavior in the Ocean Voyager exhibit at the Georgia Aquarium. My friend Andy Casagrande, one of Discovery Channel's primary Shark Week cinematographers, wanted to help investigate the mystery of the leaning hammerhead. He attached a GoPro camera to the huge dorsal fin of a great hammerhead to film the shark for an extended period of time. His amazing footage shed light on the behavior of these sharks, and it has to do with their anatomy. The hammerhead shark never stops swimming. But contrary to popular belief, many sharks do. Most species of sharks, like the lemon shark, can rest on the bottom and move water over their gills by simply gulping. Biologists call it buccal pumping. A few species of sharks, like the whale shark and the white shark, are known as obligate ram ventilators. They can only breathe by ramming oxygenated water into their gills through their mouths as they swim. If they stop swimming, they'll suffocate. The great hammerhead is an obligate ram ventilator and has to keep swimming all the time. Sharks such as the blue shark keep swimming all the time too, but for a totally different reason, because sharks sink if they stop swimming. Fish, including sharks, are heavier than water, so they sink. Bony fish have an organ called a swim bladder that they use to adjust their buoyancy. By adjusting how much gas is in its swim bladder, a fish can keep itself perfectly neutral so it doesn't sink or float. Since sharks have no swim bladder, they sink to the bottom when they stop swimming. But some sharks, like the blue shark, live in the open ocean where the bottom is thousands of feet below, where it's dark and cold. They can't rest on the bottom. So they've adapted to this environment by developing very large pectoral fins to act as airplane wings. As the shark cruises through the water, the fins provide lift to keep the shark aloft and prevent it from sinking into the dark, cold abyss. The bigger the pectoral fins, the more lift they provide, and the slower the shark can swim without sinking, which saves energy. The great hammerhead, on the other hand, has small pectoral fins and a big head called a cephalofoil. The cephalofoil seems to accomplish several things for the shark, including expanded vision, a larger surface area for electroreceptors, and additional front-end lift like a mini wing. But it also has mass, and scientists think this mass, combined with small pectoral fins, is the reason that hammerheads are so much more maneuverable than other similarly sized sharks. But while those small pectoral fins help the shark turn quickly to catch prey, they have a disadvantage: not much lift. And this is where the tilted swimming comes in. Andy Casagrande's dorsal fin footage showed that when great hammerheads are on the move, they're almost always swimming at a tilted angle of more than 45 degrees. In 2015, Nicholas Payne, Gil Ioselevsky, and 5 other researchers got together to investigate this strange behavior. They put sensors on great hammerhead sharks to measure the roll angles. Then they used wind tunnel tests to model the effect and figured out what the sharks are doing. The sharks roll on their sides to use that huge dorsal fin as a wing and provide lift while swimming distances. It allows the shark to generate more lift, which means it can swim a bit slower without sinking and save energy. In fact, swimming tilted to the side saves the shark about 8% swimming effort. So when the shark needs to go somewhere, it tilts to the side and saves energy. But when it needs to hunt, it swims straight up and down to take advantage of the increased maneuverability. The giant dorsal fin serves 2 purposes: a keel when upright and a wing when tilted. At this point, no other shark is known to use this technique, and it explains a mysterious habit that divers observed in great hammerhead sharks. Sometimes just being in the ocean creates new understanding of the life that lives there. As divers, our time in the ocean is fleeting, lasting just an hour or so per dive. But it affords us the opportunity to catch a glimpse of the lives of the animals that live there. This is one of the things that keeps me coming back over and over for my short glimpses into the blue world. It's a beautiful morning on the Swanee River. I'm back in Florida to explore some more of the caves that have made this part of the world famous. Our first stop is Amigo's Dive Shop, where my good friend Wayne Kennard has our tanks full and ready.
We're on an expedition today looking for a blind cave crayfish, which is a little albino crayfish that lives in the caves. It's very rare, but the cool thing is, it lives to be 200 years old.
It's only a half-hour drive from the shop to Little River Springs. This picture-perfect spring produces 55 million gallons of crystal-clear water every day. And it's home to the elusive cave crayfish.
This is my favorite part of diving, is when you get to carry your stuff.
We bring our tanks down to the water. Then, it's time to suit up for an adventure. Now, how does this thing go together? Finally, Todd, Zach, and I are ready to begin our dive. I'm really excited because I've never dove this cave before, but Zach and Todd have done it many times. At the entrance to the cave, Todd ties his reel to a steel pin specifically designed for cave divers. This line is extremely important for cave divers as it points the way out of the cave. A few hundred feet inside the cave, Todd ties his line off to the permanent guideline that we will follow. Soon we leave the cavern zone and head into a place of perpetual darkness. Since Zach is an expert on this cave, he leads the way. The walls of the cave show scratches from divers struggling forward in the high flow conditions. We're lucky that the flow is not too strong today. While Florida caves are not ornately decorated like caves in some other places, the erosion of the limestone creates an alien landscape full of interconnecting passages to explore. You never know what's around the next corner. Having fun filming each other as we swim further into the cave, keeping an eye out for the crayfish. Finally, Todd spots a blind cave crayfish. It looks like a miniature lobster, but since it lives its whole life in darkness, this crayfish has lost not only its sight, but its pigment. So it's a ghostly color. Mission accomplished. With the crayfish filmed and having reached 1/3 of our air supply, we turn and begin our trip back to the entrance. The way back is much easier because we just go with the flow. Back in the cavern zone, Todd removes his reel from the permanent line and spools it back up as we ascend. Up in the spring, we spend a little time filming the sunfish. Then I spot a really cool freshwater flounder, also known locally as a hog choker. Even in a tiny pool like this, there are cool things to find. We surfaced safely an hour after we started.
That was awesome!
Caves may seem devoid of life, but the cave crayfish is a perfect example of how life can adapt to virtually any environment in the blue world. I love seahorses, and I've filmed many different species all over the world. I've always wanted to see a leafy sea dragon, which is almost certainly the rarest, most spectacular seahorse in the world. They're only found in one place, the waters of southern Australia. It's summer vacation, and the whole family is joining me on a Blue World expedition to South Australia. The kids have never been on a flight this long. We're traveling to the other side of the world, from Boston all the way to Adelaide, with a stop in Dubai. It's 2 12-hour flights back to back.
Well, it took 30 hours, but we made
made it to Adelaide, South Australia. Sleeping on a plane is difficult, so we're totally exhausted. But we still have to load our rental van and drive down to our rental house in Rapid Bay. Rapid Bay is a beautiful place located 100 kilometers south of Adelaide. We rented a house right on the ocean. It's windy and not that warm. It may be summer at home, but here in the southern hemisphere, it's winter. There's not much between Rapid Bay and Antarctica, except ocean. The next morning, we make a run up to Adelaide for scuba tanks. Then, it's over to the dive site, the Rapid Bay Jetty. The roads are a blast, even if I am in a minivan. But I have to remember to drive on the left. Well, I finally made it to the jetty here in Rapid Bay in South Australia, one of the best places in the world to find one of the rarest seahorses in the world, the leafy sea dragon. The jetty in Rapid Bay was originally built for loading limestone from the local quarry onto cargo ships. The quarry up on the hillside is still here, but no longer used. The original jetty fell into disrepair, but it was so popular with the locals for fishing that they spent $3 million building a new one just for recreation. It's popular with fishermen and divers. We meet up with Daniel Canaz, a local dive instructor. We take a quick walk down the jetty while Daniel explains the dive to me and Christine. Then, it's time for everyone to suit up. Christine and I are putting on our dry suits. Dry suits are kind of a pain, but it beats being cold. The kids, unfortunately, don't have dry suits yet, so they'll have to dive in wetsuits. But hey, they're kids, they can take it. The water's only 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 13 degrees Celsius. Chilly. It's time for a long walk down the jetty. Or should I say, a long walk off a short pier. Fortunately, when they built the jetty, they kept divers in mind, so there's a nice staircase right into the water. The wind is howling and the water is rough, but in we go. As we sink down, I'm a little disappointed by the visibility. We knew it would be cold, but we didn't count on a storm churning up the sediment. I can barely see Daniel ahead of me as we begin our search for leafy sea dragons. We're hunting in the seaweed because that's where their camouflage allows them to hide the best. After what seems like forever, we finally find one. In South Australia, we've found a leafy sea dragon in the murky water. This master of camouflage looks exactly like a drifting piece of seaweed within the seaweed garden on the ocean floor. Obviously, this is not an animal designed for speed. No seahorses are fast, but this one is positively sluggish with all those leafy projections. But who needs to be fast when you can blend in? Predators just don't see the leafy sea dragon. This sea dragon does use whatever speed it has to try to escape the glare of my bright lights. But once it figures out that I'm not going to hurt it, the sea dragon relaxes a little bit and allows me to get in for some close-ups. I don't even notice the cold water when I'm filming something awesome like this. Once we know how to find them, they're easier to spot. Elise finds a pair of smaller ones. These conditions can't be easy for the little sea dragons. With the kids in wetsuits, they get cold fairly soon, so we head back out of the water. The kids are cold, but excited. We hoof our gear back to the van. Shore diving is a lot of work. Now for our least favorite part. We came a long way for this little fish, but it was worth it. I've waited 20 years to see a leafy sea dragon. It's one of the weirdest, most camouflaged animals I've ever seen. A true wonder of the blue world.
Today on Blue World, the Bahamas Shark Fest. Jonathan goes night diving with lemon sharks. But first, tiger shark diving with guest star Coyote Peterson. Meet Jonathan Bird, one of the world's top underwater nature cinematographers. Traveling the world on assignment for all the major networks, he is an Emmy Award-winning authority on the underwater world. In freshwater or salt, reefs, wrecks, or caves, Jonathan documents the world beneath the waves. Welcome to the Blue World.
Today I'm helping the Brave Wilderness team film the first episodes of their new series, Blue Wilderness. It will be hosted by Mark Vins, who's been producing Brave Wilderness with Coyote since the beginning. Their whole team has recently learned to dive, and this is their first big dive trip. Since they're new to diving and underwater filming, they came to me for some advice, and we decided to get together for a week-long dive adventure on my favorite dive boat, the Dolphin Dream. We have a lot planned for the week. Our first stop, tiger sharks. Our adventure begins in West End, Grand Bahama. We sail north across the Little Bahama Bank, a shallow area of mixed sand and reefs. It will take several hours to reach our destination, a large, shallow area called White Sand Ridge. Along the way, we have some time to relax. But it's not long before we stop for a warm-up dive. Mario, the Brave Wilderness cameraman, just got certified, and this will be his first dive since finishing his scuba class. Mark and Coyote have done a few dives, but they haven't been in the water in a while.
See, I've changed out my head attire from cowboy hat to youth-size beanie, maybe? I don't know, that's what it feels like.
You look like a seal.
I hop in the water first to get some shots of Mark and Coyote jumping in. Coyote is going first, and I can tell he's a little nervous. Scuba is still new for him. But he does a perfect giant stride entry like a pro. We drop down to the bottom, and there isn't really very much to see, just some sand and a few soft corals. But that's not the point. Coyote, Mark, and Mario need to get comfortable in their scuba gear before we add sharks to the mix. Mark also has a brand new Gates housing to figure out. And Coyote has camera envy. Soon everyone is ready and we head back to the boat. We pull anchor and head to Tiger Beach, which isn't actually a beach at all. It's the unofficial nickname for a shallow, sandy place far from land where they chum for tiger sharks. As soon as we arrive, the crew starts chumming to begin the process of attracting sharks. Then Captain Jared gives the group a dive briefing.
That if you guys don't follow our suggestions for protocols and safe practice of diving, there's a very good probability that you will get bit. And from that, there is a very good probability that you will die about 6 hours from land and about 8 hours from actual medical care.
And after that cheerful speech, I have to reassure Mark and Coyote that they're going to be fine.
This is going to be so much fun. You're going to love this.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm hearing fun.
Yeah.
Is it safe?
Well, yeah, it's pretty safe.
Pretty safe.
It's mostly safe.
Okay, mostly safe. What's the game plan? How do we stay safe?
So we're going to wear gloves.
Okay.
Which keep your hands from looking like fish.
Sure.
And we're going to wear hoods, so we have this sort of ninja look.
Ninja?
Yeah, it keeps the sharks from thinking of us as having any food.
Does that make the sharks intimidated that we're like ninjas, or is that for color?
That is just to keep us from looking like anything edible.
Ah.
And when we hit the water, we're going to go straight down so we don't hang around the surface where prey would be.
Okay.
You know, we're going to get down to the bottom. And once we're down there, they think of us as just something that lives in the ocean and something competing with them for some food. So they're gonna ignore you. You're gonna love it.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun.
Well, I'm excited. Coyote, how do you feel? You ready?
Got my giant camera rig ready, and I am 100% certain we're gonna get in the water and get some epic shots.
After an hour of chumming, the boat is surrounded by sharks.
So when we pulled up, we immediately had sharks, which is always a really good sign, but there's a great hammerhead down there, and I'm really hoping that it sticks around, because it is so rare to see a great hammerhead here.
You guys coming down? It'll be awesome.
Awesome. And I'll meet you on the bottom.
See you down there, buddy.
Down on the bottom, there's a lot of action. Already we have 3 species of sharks: Caribbean reef sharks, lemon sharks, and at least 1 nurse shark hanging around the chum box, plus about a zillion fish. Within a couple of minutes, Coyote and Mark are hitting the water, and things down below are in full swing. Then the first tiger shark shows up. And I'm pretty sure she just sneezed. And soon, the great hammerhead appears. This isn't just any great hammerhead. This is a friendly one that's been showing up at Tiger Beach a lot for the past 2 years. And they call her Patches for her patchy ventral coloration. Normally, hammerheads do not show up at Tiger Beach. Either they're afraid of the tiger sharks, or they're just too skittish around all the divers. But Patches is different. Patches is in fact so awesome, we're going to do an entire segment about her. The appearance of Patches and the tiger sharks means that we now have 5 species of sharks present on a single dive. And I'm pretty sure that Mario is super excited. I'm getting a kick out of watching Mark get comfortable with his new underwater camera, and I can tell he's in the zone where he's focusing on shots and his fear is gone. It's fun to be part of it and to see these guys falling in love with sharks right in front of my eyes. After an hour, we get a few last shots and then reluctantly head back to the boat. Nobody wants to get out of the water, but we're low on air. I can hardly wait to hear what they thought of the dive. But when I pop up, Mario has the camera ready and he wants to know what I thought of the dive.
5 species in one dive. I don't know if that's ever happened. To me, I mean, that's amazing.
As the sun sets, we're already looking forward to tomorrow because things are about to get even more wild. The next morning, the boat is swarming with sharks. But we're doing a shark feed, so we have to jump into this mass of sharks and swim down quickly to the bottom. We hit the water and head over to the sandy area where the feed will take place. Coyote and I are first on the scene. Soon Houston arrives with the bait box. The sharks know the deal. They immediately come over and start circling, waiting for the free breakfast to start. Mark arrives with his camera ready. As Houston starts feeding, Mario, Mark, and Coyote are all keeping a safe distance, with cameraman Tim filming from behind them. As the feed goes on, more and more sharks come to the party. Coyote and Mark get more comfortable, moving closer and closer to the action. Then the sharks come around to investigate. Mark has a close encounter of the sharky kind. But he handles it calmly, no problem. Coyote is getting right up close with his camera. And then Coyote has his own close encounter. and he recovers like a pro. This was not an act of aggression from the shark. It was just investigating Coyote to see if he had any food. You don't need to read sign language to understand what he's saying. That is one big tiger shark. At the end of the dive, we all head back to the boat to celebrate. We took the Brave Wilderness team shark diving, and Coyote didn't get bitten by anything. Mario and Mark got some valuable experience filming underwater for their new series, Blue Wilderness. And guess what? We're planning a bunch of upcoming collaborations between Blue World, Blue Wilderness, and Brave Wilderness. So stay tuned for more awesome underwater action in the Blue World. It's a beautiful evening as the sun sets behind the Dolphin Dream dive boat. But the Blue World and Brave Wilderness teams are just beginning to embark on our next Bahamas adventure. We've all traveled to West End, Grand Bahama for a week of epic diving. So far, it's been incredible. On our first few dives, we had encounters with 5 different shark species. There were huge tiger sharks, curious lemon sharks, reef sharks, nurse sharks, and of course, Patches, the famous hammerhead. The Brave Wilderness guys have gotten some great experience filming sharks underwater, and we've all had a fabulous time diving together.
So we've done a lot of shark diving on this show, and we've done a lot of night diving. But tonight, we're gonna combine the two into shark night diving just to see how many sharks we can find after dark. And I'm sure it's not gonna be scary at all.
As the sun dips below the horizon, we start suiting up.
Well, hopefully I'm gonna go find some sharks, and it'll be interesting to see if the Blue Wilderness guys have gotten eaten yet.
This is going to be a piece of cake.
On the bottom, we meet up with Mario from the Brave Wilderness team, who's currently surrounded by tiger sharks in the semi-darkness. As it gets darker, we'll be able to locate the boat by the bright lights on the stern. In the absence of sunlight, the colors of the reef really pop under our video lights. As darkness fully falls, basket stars unfurl and catch plankton with their tendril arms. Purple rope sponges don't do anything exciting, but they look cool. Even so, sharks are cooler, and there are lots of them. With the limited range of our lights, the sharks come and go into the darkness regularly, and it's pretty spooky. It's almost impossible to see the sharks until they're right on top of us. Cameraman Bill and I come across a resting lemon shark covered in remoras that look really annoying. I inch my way up close to the shark, trying not to spook her. While a few species of sharks can never stop swimming, most can, in fact, rest on the bottom and gulp water to breathe, a behavior known as buccal pumping. Biologists don't really know if sharks sleep, but these lights are really bright, so it seems plausible that this shark is really zonked out. I keep inching my way forward until I can get an awesome view of the teeth. Ever coughed in your sleep? Apparently sharks do too, and now she's awake and fully aware of 10,000 lumens of LED video lights in her face. Time to leave. Bill is annoyed that I scared the shark away, so now he has to find us another one. Look behind you, Bill! Mark and Mario have found another resting lemon shark, and they're getting even closer than I did. Wait a minute, is Mark petting the shark? Pretty impressive for guys that hadn't even dove with sharks 2 days ago. One bad idea leads to another. I'm gonna try that myself. I really think that sharks must sleep, because that seems like the best explanation for this shark putting up with being petted like a puppy. I think the other sharks are starting to get jealous. I decide to try the tonic immobility technique I learned with master shark handler Neil Harvey and gently rub the shark under the snout. But all I managed to accomplish is waking her up. On a shark night dive in the Bahamas, we spot a southern stingray foraging for food. Unfortunately, sharks eat stingrays. Bill and I watch as a chase begins. We'll never know how it ends. After an hour with the sharks in the dark, our scuba tanks are getting low, so it's time to make for the boat. As we ascend, the sharks circle below. We know they're not aggressive, but that doesn't make it any less unsettling. We do our safety stop on the descent line while keeping an eye on the sharks, and then we can get out.
Oh man, that was crazy. Did you see that thing?
I saw it all happen. It was amazing.
Man, so the lemon shark I thought it was sleeping.
Yeah, I did too.
And what happened?
I was filming the southern ray coming by. I was like, oh, look, nighttime life. Here we go. And the southern ray got close and closer, and all of a sudden, about 3 feet away, the shark woke up and just went right after it.
I went nuts.
Yeah.
I thought the shark was completely asleep, and as soon as that ray was anywhere near, man, boom!
Yeah.
It was like a big fight.
Yeah, there was chasing it. The ray was darting all around. Shark was swimming after it, all over the place.
Yeah,
Incredible.
and I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
They went off into the darkness, and we have no idea what happened, but
Wow, man, just when you think the shark is sleeping, not so much.
That was incredible.
That was cool. Incredible. Definitely worth that dive.
Yeah.
The nightlife in the ocean is always spectacular. Although it may seem scary, night diving's actually quite peaceful. It's one of my favorite ways to experience the blue world.
Today on Blue World, Jonathan goes to the Bahamas in search of the world's friendliest hammerhead shark. But first, he needs to get his bandana back from a pod of dolphins. Meet Jonathan Bird, one of the world's top underwater nature cinematographers. Traveling the world on assignment for all the major networks, he is an Emmy Award-winning authority on the underwater world. In freshwater or salt, reefs, wrecks, or caves, Jonathan documents the world beneath the waves. Welcome to the Blue World.
It's a windy day aboard the Dolphin Dream dive boat, and we're heading towards prime dolphin territory. The Blue World and Brave Wilderness teams have been diving in the Bahamas for a few days now. We had some epic shark diving with lemon sharks, Patches the hammerhead, and tiger sharks. We even went shark diving at night. But today it's time to try something completely different. We're looking for dolphins. Finch is scanning the horizon for dorsal fins. Now, it's a little known fact that in order to get dolphins, you actually have to summon them to the boat. And to do that, you have to perform the summoning dance. Sort of a ritualized dolphin-bringing thing. And we don't really know how to do it, so Finch is going to give cameraman Tim and cameraman Bill a lesson.
Like this.
And it actually works. Soon, a small pod of spotted dolphins have converged upon the bow of our boat. They love to ride the pressure wave in the bow wake like underwater surfers.
Dolphins on the starboard side! Dive, 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 dive!
Dolphins are too fast for scuba gear, so we just use a mask, fins, and snorkel. The dolphins are curious, but they lose interest quickly. So, to keep them engaged, we have to swim as fast as we can and splash around to pique their interest. Even when I'm swimming as hard as I can, the dolphins are barely moving. But pretty soon we get tired, so Houston brings out an electric scooter. The dolphins love the scooter, so they swarm around Houston as he spins and twirls underwater like a blue-jeaned ballerina. One really fun way to engage the dolphins is to offer them a bandana to play with. They love to pass it back and forth, but their favorite thing to do with it is to play keep away with the pathetic humans. Even though they don't have hands, they can carry the bandana on their pectoral fins, dorsal fin, and even their flukes. shark tries to get close enough to grab it, but this dolphin says no way. Finally, he drops it, and now it's my chance. Psych! He is taunting me. Come and get it, slowpoke human. The dolphins steal a lot of bandanas. I wonder if they have a stash of them someplace under the reef or something.
So one of the things about the bandana game is sometimes the dolphins don't give the bandana back. So you go through a lot of bandanas. So the best thing to do is to actually cut your bandanas in half. Because a half a bandana works just fine, and you get twice as many chances just in case the dolphins steal it, which they like to do. So now we have a whole bunch of these babies. And these are the perfect size for the dolphins to catch on their pectoral fin or good stuff.
Even though these are spotted dolphins, many of them have no spots. That's because they're born spotless. As they get older, they will start to get a few spots around age 2. But fully mature spotted dolphins are completely covered in spots. This mature female is swimming with her 2-year-old calf and pregnant with her next calf. Even though the 2-year-old wants to come over to investigate me, Mom keeps herself between us for a while until she's sure I'm not a threat. Later, they swim by again, and the calf gets a close look at me and my big camera. Even though the juveniles are more curious, sometimes even the adults like to play. Here's something you don't see very often. Dolphins blowing bubbles. Who knows why they're doing this? Maybe it's just fun. After we start getting really tired, the dolphins get bored and go off to play amongst themselves. The dolphins have lost interest in us, so it's time to head back to the boat.
What'd you think of that, man?
That was awesome. Love diving with dolphins.
It's like the most fun you can have when you're almost drowning.
Yeah.
What do you think, Timmy?
It's unbelievable. Hey, here's our ride. Let's go back and do it again.
Yeah, let's go back and do it again.
So the trick with dolphins is keeping them interested. When they get bored, they swim away, and we have to get back on the boat and sort of chase them down again, and then jump back in the water. So it's a process of jumping in, getting out, jumping in, getting out. Because they get bored because we're slow, we're boring. So you have to keep them engaged so they get them back on the bow. All right, let's go. Let's go!
We catch up with the pod and jump back in. Finch is on the scooter this time, trying to keep them engaged. And they still have my bandana. Is Mark petting the dolphin? Not many of the dolphins like to be touched, but some of them actively seek being petted. Pretty soon, the parents all come back to collect the kids at the playground, and after a few playful passes, they head off into the blue. Please note that they did not give my bandana back.
Yeah, no, there's 8 total, including.
That was unbelievable. Most amazing experience in my entire life. Swimming with those dolphins was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Locked eyes with dolphins, swam with them, dove down, they kind of spun around. You just maintain eye contact the entire time. Yeah. Life-changing. Unbelievable. Can't believe it. Can we go back, please?
I can't think of many wild animals that will actively engage with people, never mind play a game of keep away. Dolphins are definitely one of the smartest and most curious animals in the blue world. It's a beautiful day in the Bahamas, and it's about to get better because I'm meeting up with Coyote Peterson.
Hey, man! How are you?
Mark Vins and Mario Aldecoa from Brave Wilderness to help with the creation of their new show, Blue Wilderness. We start in Grand Bahama and sail north on a liveaboard dive boat called the Dolphin Dream, one of my favorite boats. Our destination? Tiger Beach, a famous place where tiger sharks interact with divers. Upon arrival, the crew starts chumming. Then we suit up and hit the water. We have tons of sharks. Our team and the guys from Brave Wilderness are having a blast. We're getting lots of great footage. Most importantly, the main attraction has shown up. We have multiple tiger sharks swimming around us. Coyote even gets up close with the tiger. But then things get even more magical with the arrival of a rather special shark, a great hammerhead named Patches. Great hammerheads are usually quite shy. It's extremely unusual for one to get right up to the camera like this, so after the dive, Mark and I ask Captain Jared about her.
Jared, tell me about Patches. Tell me the history of this shark.
All right, so Patches showed up at Tiger Beach about 2 seasons ago. She wasn't too playful when she first came in. She'd hang out around the outside of the dives a lot. But as she got used to the divers and watched the tiger sharks doing their thing, coming in and feeding, she started to slowly make her way in. And once she started getting comfortable with us, she'd let us feed her some pieces of fish. We used to catch fresh fish for her because she was a bit of a picky eater. And then she got more and more comfortable with us and let us get a little bit more hands-on with her and pet her. And then once that happened, she pretty much just stuck around. And so she's quite special for us at Tiger Beach because she's the only hammerhead we know that acts like that and stays in that area.
So is it a rare experience to get up close to a hammerhead like this at Tiger Beach?
Most hammerheads, they're quick. They come in, they spend 10 or 15 minutes. They don't really go that close to everyone. They kind of like move through, get their food, and get out. But with Patches, you'll see that she'll come in, play with the diver at the bait crate, then go and spin through all the divers at the dive site and then come back in. So it's quite special the way she interacts with people.
With this magnificent shark hanging around the boat, Mark and I know that there's no time to waste. We quickly suit up for another dive to film Patches while she's here.
All right, Mark, let's go see if we can find Patches. Hammerhead sharks, let's do it. Yeah!
The minute we hit the water, Patches comes right over to investigate us near the surface. She exhibits the classic hammerhead tilted swimming behavior, which has only recently been scientifically studied. It allows the great hammerhead shark to use its tall dorsal fin as a wing to increase lift, reducing swimming effort. Patches passes extremely close to me, but her proximity is in no way aggressive. She's clearly just curious. She's the kind of shark that underwater photographers dream about. Cooperative and friendly, coming super close to the camera, but in no way threatening. Patches just seems to go back and forth between me, cameraman Bill, and Mark. And sometimes she likes to demonstrate how hammerheads use the mass of their hammer and their incredibly flexible body to turn on a dime, like no tiger shark ever could. Patches is my new favorite shark of all time. Eventually, we sink down to the sandy seafloor next to the reef, and Patches follows us like an excited puppy. Soon, our dive master Houston has joined the party with a crate full of fishy snacks. We all gather around, cameras at the ready, to begin filming the shark feed. And Patches isn't about to be left out of the action. She's the only hammerhead I've ever seen that will swim into a feed with a bunch of tiger sharks. She's just as long as the tigers, but nowhere near as girthy and powerful. Yet she sticks up for herself, even pushing one of the tigers away by whacking it in the gills. Nearby, a lemon shark is resting on the bottom, knowing well enough to stay away from a bunch of feeding tiger sharks. Lemons can gulp water to breathe and rest on the bottom. But not Patches. Great hammerheads are called obligate ram ventilators. They're one of the few species of sharks that need to keep swimming to ram water down their throats and into their gills. So they keep moving and usually have their jaw open. It looks aggressive, but it's just respiration. She may have to keep moving, but her super shark power is turning. Great hammerheads can turn much tighter and faster than tigers, and even reef sharks, which are far smaller. Turning so tightly, Patches can make twice as many runs at the chum box, so she gets more chances to be fed. And her persistence pays off. Houston doles out some nice, yummy fish. We have 3 tiger sharks on the dive, and normally even 1 tiger shark would be amazing. But Patches still steals the show. She's the star, and I think she knows it. She just keeps making passes in front of everyone, and we aren't going anywhere as long as we have air to breathe. But alas, no scuba tank lasts forever, and soon we have to make for the boat. Patches follows us up to the swim step, but we definitely are not afraid, only thrilled.
Dude! Most cooperative hammerhead shark ever!
Is this real life? Did that just happen?
Oh,
guys, that hammerhead was enormous.
And unbelievably friendly.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a segment. Jonathan, thank you.
Good work, man.
Dude,
Nice.
yes. That was awesome.
At the end of a long day diving with the world's most awesome hammerhead, I can only wonder if I will ever meet her again. With any luck, Patches will return next season so other divers can get to know her and develop an appreciation for one of the most spectacular shark species in the blue world.
Today on Blue World, Jonathan goes in one cave and comes out another. But first, a trip to the Philippines in search of an elusive dugong. Meet Jonathan Bird, one of the world's top underwater nature cinematographers. Traveling the world on assignment for all the major networks, he is an Emmy Award-winning authority on the underwater world. In freshwater or salt, reefs, wrecks, or caves, Jonathan documents the world beneath the waves. Welcome to the Blue World.
In the waters of Florida and the Caribbean, there exists a gentle marine mammal called a manatee. Because they often live inshore, close to people, and have enjoyed more than 40 years of protection from hunting or harassment, manatees are often quite friendly. Many of them have become acclimated to gentle interactions with people. But the manatee has a wild cousin called a dugong, living far away in the Indo-Pacific Ocean. This animal is still hunted in much of its range. It's shy and hard to approach, wary of humans, and exceptionally rare to see underwater. Which is why I have come to the Philippines, one of a handful of places in the world where there are enough dugongs left to have a chance of seeing one in the wild. I'm heading to Busuanga in Palawan, Philippines, a remote and beautiful area where the endangered dugong still roams wild. But I didn't come alone. Award-winning IMAX filmmaking team Howard and Michelle Hall have joined me on this trip. They've been here before and agreed to give me a hand with this daunting and challenging assignment. Our journey begins with a flight from the capital city of Manila down to Busuanga. Then a drive from the local airport to the water. Next, we take a ferry ride across the bay to our home away from home, El Rio y Mar Resort on the north side of Busuanga. We arrive just after sunset in time for dinner. The next morning, we awake to fog in the nearby hills and our dive boat, a traditional Filipino bangka, ready to go. We get our gear together and load the boat. It's going to be a long day.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the experienced hands of Captains Benny Martinez and Wilmar Bansalan, we set out on our first day of adventure. Dugongs are wild animals that roam the ocean freely, and it's a big ocean. But we know where they saw dugongs recently, so at least we know where to start looking. Unfortunately, that spot is 2 hours away. Since it's going to be a while, Howard and Michelle do the only logical thing: take a nap. I've never been here before, so I spend some time watching the scenery go by. I'm always amazed by the natural beauty of the Philippines. Lush green hills surrounded by beautiful warm water filled with untold species of animals to be discovered and filmed. Eventually, we make it to the area where some dugongs were last seen, and we start looking. With experienced eyes, dive masters Omar Linsingan and Brian Daramas begin scanning the surface of the water. Dugongs are solitary animals, so they're looking for just one. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. After driving around looking for an hour, at last we spot a dugong.
1, 2, 3. Yep, there's his nose. What a shot. There he goes. Good one.
Oh, nice. There's no time to waste in suiting up and getting into the water. We don't really need to make a stealthy water entry because we're anchored really far from the dugong. We will swim several hundred yards to reach the dugong because the boat spooks them. We follow Brian for a few minutes, looking around carefully in anticipation of finding the dugong. Finally, we find it, and Howard takes the lead, sneaking up on her while she's sleeping. The master at work. The dugong is covered in remoras, suction cup-equipped fish that hang around larger animals for scraps. But why are there so many around this dugong? Michelle films from above for a shot of me and Howard inching closer and closer to the dugong, hoping it will tolerate our presence. But when the dugong wakes up and finds 2 cameras in its face, the scene is over as it swims away. This is definitely going to be more work than filming manatees in Florida. With Howard and Michelle leading, we head back to the boat. With the light fading, it's time to head for home. Back at the resort, we enjoy a beautiful Philippine sunset and get a good night's sleep. The next morning, we're heading back, cameras at the ready. We find a dugong quickly this time, so we get suited up and into the water as fast as we can. Today is nice and sunny and the water's a little clearer on an incoming tide. Omar leads us to the dugong, and this time we get lucky. The dugong is actively feeding, and fortunately, he's more interested in food than us. So as I sneak up close for some shots, he doesn't seem to mind. Like manatees, dugongs are herbivores. They eat only plants, and their favorite plants to eat are seagrasses that grow in the sandy seafloor in shallow water where there's plenty of light. While there's no shortage of this aquatic salad for dugongs to eat, it's not exactly dense in nutritional value. So dugongs need to spend more than half their lives chomping away at seagrasses and packing in nearly 100 pounds of it a day. Dugongs and manatees are in fact the only completely herbivorous marine mammals. So in spite of reaching the length and weight of a small car, dugongs are completely harmless. A school of golden trevally are hanging around because as the dugong feeds, he scares up shrimp and other creatures hiding in the sand. It's an easy feast for the fish. The dugong also has those other freeloaders. More than a dozen remoras are hanging on to him and following along. They must drive the poor dugong absolutely crazy because every once in a while he engages in an elaborate ritual to try to rid himself of some of them. It starts with some acrobatics, rolling and twisting in the sand. The acrobatics kicks up a bunch of silt and reduces the visibility to near zero in a giant cloud around the dugong. Once the dust cloud reaches epic proportions, he shoots out of the cloud and zooms away at up to 15 miles per hour, which is actually pretty fast underwater, and literally leaves the remoras in the dust. Unfortunately, the remoras always seem to catch up again. I keep watching because I really want to know why so many remoras hang around. What is their interest in the dugong? Then I see it, and it's pretty disgusting. The remoras eat the dugong's poop. Dugongs eat a lot, so they poop a lot. For the remoras, the dugong is like a swimming poop vending machine. If you are what you eat, that explains why even sharks won't eat remoras. Like dolphins and whales, dugongs are mammals. Their ancient ancestors once lived on land. But in spite of their similarity to whales, dugongs and manatees are more closely related to elephants. Since they're mammals, they must rise to the surface to breathe every few minutes. While the dugong can hold its breath for 15 minutes, they tend to breathe much more frequently than that, every 3 to 6 minutes. In spite of their similarity, dugongs and manatees have one striking difference. The tail of a dugong looks like the fluke of a whale or a dolphin. A manatee, on the other hand, has a rounded paddle-like tail. The dugong has a huge range spreading across the tropical Pacific and Indian Oceans all the way up into the Red Sea. The dugong is highly endangered in its entire range, but the strongest holdouts of stable populations are in northern Australia and the Arabian Gulf. Most countries now protect the dugong, and ever so slowly its numbers are growing, bringing this remarkable, harmless, and I would say adorable marine mammal back from the brink of extinction. As our new friend settles back into a nap, pestered by his annoying, poop-eating remora freeloaders, I watch for a while, having finally gained his trust. But then, with our scuba tanks getting low, it's time for the long swim back to the boat. It took me 20 years to finally see a dugong in the wild, but with continued protection, it's my fervent hope that dugongs will be much easier for future generations to see here in the wild blue world. It's a cool morning in North Florida with steam rising off the warm Suwannee River. This section of Florida is known as cave country because it's made of porous karst limestone and full of caves. There are hundreds of caves here. Zach, Todd, and I are heading out for a day of cave diving adventure. We're meeting up with our good friend Wayne Kennard, who's taking us on one of his favorite dives today. So we head over to his dive shop, Amigos Dive Center in Fort White.
Hey, Wayne!
Good morning, Jonathan.
How are you?
Doing well. You ready to go dive peacock?
Yeah, man.
It's going to be the best day ever.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
First, we rig and fill our scuba tanks. We put all of our stuff in poor Wayne's truck. Next, it's off to Peacock Springs. It kind of looks like a swamp at first. Even from the air, it doesn't look that inviting. But this is a really popular cave dive with easy access provided by a beautiful set of stairs.
So Wayne, tell me what we're going to do here today.
Well, we're at West Skiles Peacock Springs State Park. We will make our entrance here, right in the Peacock One, and we will swim through these tunnels, passing a place called Pothole where there's some deer bones and other animal bones, and until we reach Olson Sink. We will then surface at Olson and compare our thirds and how the dive is going, and then turn around and come back in the same route that we took back to the exit of Peacock One where we originated our dive.
So what we're doing today is called a traverse, where we go in one cave entrance and pop out another. But the second entrance is close enough that we can make it on 1/3 of our air supply, so we can turn and go back again on the same scuba tanks. Next, it's time to suit up. Wayne hoofs his big back mount doubles down to the water, but Todd, Zach, and I are using side mount, so we will don our tanks in the water.
You ready? All right.
The water in the spring is pretty green and a bit murky, but as we drop into the cave, it's much clearer. Like most caves that see a lot of divers, there's a stop sign at the edge of the cavern zone, warning people to go no further without cave training and equipment. We get our cameras white balanced and follow Wayne into the darkness. Almost immediately, Wayne finds a blind cave crayfish. Over thousands of years living in caves, these little crustaceans have lost their pigment and eyesight. This species grows to about 2 inches and is only found in Florida and Georgia. Even though it can't see me filming, it can sense my presence and moves away as I get close. As we progress further into the cave, I feel like I'm swimming through an enormous piece of Swiss cheese. Over thousands of years, water flowing through these passages has slowly dissolved the limestone, making the passages larger and larger. We're careful not to kick up the silt on the bottom of the cave, which would ruin our visibility. Wayne leads us to a little shelf that the local divers call the pothole. This is where people have placed bones that have been found in the cave for easy inspection. Wayne holds them up, but he can't tell me what they are, so I'll have to wait and ask him after the dive. This one looks like a turtle shell. And this one looks like a cow skull. He carefully puts the bones back where they were for other divers to see, and then we continue on our way. Soon we reach the 600-foot arrow. Line arrows always point the fastest way out of the cave, so this one is telling us that the entrance is 600 feet back the way we came. The cave passages are getting larger in this section, and it doesn't take us long to reach a double line arrow. We're now exactly halfway between Peacock 1 and Olsen Sink. Both line arrows point the way out, 700 feet either way. So we keep following the line towards Olsen Sink through some pretty cool passages. We enter a low section of cave perfect for side mount, but Wayne manages to fit with his back-mounted tanks. Soon we can see some light at the end of the tunnel ahead. Wayne goes first, up through a small opening towards the surface. One by one, we all emerge into Olsen Sink, a tiny blue pool in the middle of the forest.
Oh man, that was great!
Yeah, super great.
That's a long swim.
It is. A lot of interesting creatures down there.
Well, should we head back in? I guess we should head back. We got a long swim.
We got us a swim ahead. It's been a great day. Let's head back.
Wayne leads the way back into the cave. We kicked up a bit of silt squeezing through that small restriction, so we have some murky water to get through. But soon we pass back into the nice clear water in the cave and begin our long swim back to the Peacock 1 entrance. On the way out, we have the current at our backs, so the swim is easier. We make good time. When we enter the low section again, I notice pockets of our air have collected on the ceiling, looking like liquid metal. The limestone walls are an ancient seabed, so they're full of fossils and shells. Finally, we make it back to the stop sign in the cavern zone, and we ascend back to the light of day.
That was great. That was really amazing.
My trip to Peacock Springs was a great success because not only did I get to go cave diving, but I also did my first traverse, swimming all the way to Olson Sink. It's only 1,400 feet, just less than 5 football fields away, but in a cave, that's a pretty long swim. Fortunately, there was a lot of cool stuff to see along the way. Cave diving is one of my favorite ways to explore the blue world.